Good evening, everyone. Today we will speak about transportation in plants. In previous lectures, we have spoken about circulation, respiration, and excretion. Today, it's the last topic of the chapter, life process, that is transportation in the plants. Mainly, if for the transportation in plants, there are two types. There are two cells that are responsible. This is xylem and phloem, which we will speak about in the later part of the chapter. Now, have you ever wondered that sometimes, for example, the eucalyptus tree, the tree is very long. Suppose this is the length of a tree and there are the leaves. Have you ever wondered that how the leaves get the water? The answer is below there are roots and everything. The roots will take in the water and this water will flow into the leaves through the process of transportation with the help of xylem and phloem with some kind of help of root pressure also. This unique mechanism of intaking water to such a huge length is really phenomenal. That is the beauty of our nature, which we will today try to understand about it. Now, moving on, the plants need transportation because the water that are absorbed from the roots contains some minerals. The farmers give fertilizers and everything to maintain the mineral level in the plant. Same in this case, in case of a forest, water contains some certain kind of minerals that are necessary for the plant metabolism that are intaken by the help of transportation. The from the water, from the roots that are the water that has been taken up, the water is used in the photosynthesis in the leaves, and by this way, a whole cycle is getting played into the system. Now, moving on, as I mentioned that there are two systems that are responsible. That is the xylem and the phloem. The xylem is responsible for the water transport. Let us deeply understand about the xylem. This was the preliminary of the transportation in plants. Now we will study about the more technical terms of transportation. These three, absorption, root pressure, and transpiration pull, are the major functions that are overtaken or by it is carried by the help of xylem. Now, what do you mean by absorption? The root in a tree, the root here suppose is the water content, and in case of the root, the water level suppose for the root the water content will be about 20% and in the ground it will be around 60%. So you can see there is a huge difference, and by this huge difference the pressure is created. And what do we know, what do we call this pressure? It's called as an osmosis. The absorption, water is absorbed by the process of osmosis. In the root, there is a semi-permeable membrane, and through the semi-permeable membrane, the water gets transported or gets entered into the root, and from the root, it gets transported to all the parts of the tree. Now, Next is the root pressure. The water that has been taken up, think about it like a gravity. The gravity holds us to a downward system of the earth. In a similar way, the root pressure, whenever I am sucking in the water, a pressure is created. And with this help of the pressure, the water gets transported in upward direction. Think of like you are drinking Pepsi or any other thing with the help of a straw. So whenever you are giving a pull demand, the whatever the Pepsi or water gets transported to the upward direction. It is the same in the case of root pressure. It is a pull motion of the water from the roots to the other parts of the plant. Next, we have the transpiration pull. Transpiration pull is what do you mean by transpiration? Transpiration is a process by which water content is transpired or evaporated into the air, which we have spoken about in the earlier chapters. By this way, whatever the water content the leaves are having, they will get transpired into the air with the help of stomata. And uh, as I'm like giving out the water from the leaves, there is a pressure or there is a demand in the leaves for the sake of photosynthesis, and for this the leaves will demand water, and with this demand the water gets pulled up from the roots to the leaves. Now the xylem is mostly associated with the upward movement. That is, the water, whatever the water contains, get pulled up from the ground to the upper part. It's taken care by the xylem. And for this, you won't believe it, but for this mechanism, whole mechanism of the sucking in water from the root to the upper to the topmost part of the tree, no energy is required. It is hard to believe because in case of humans, even for doing a minor activity, energy is required. But in the case of plants, such a whole mechanism is driven with the help of no energy but xylem. Xylem is associated with an upward movement and it has three main steps, that is absorption, root pressure and transpiration. The root pressure part doesn't contribute to much. Like it's say it is about 40%, it's also about 40% or 50%, then it is about 10%. That is in a very minute quantity, it helps in the whole transportation of the water. Now, we will study about the fluid. As we know that for a living organism, both the substances are needed, water and food. As we have learned that water is associated with the water transport. Now, the next thing is the food transport, and this is done with the help of fluid. Now we will speak about fluid. As we have understand that the xylem was associated with the water transport, but we know that for a living thing, food is also required, and this is achieved with the help of phloem. The phloem takes care of the transportation of the food materials across the plant body. Now, this transportation or this transportation of food materials from the leaves to the roots, this is certain term, that is translocation. The translocation is bidirectional. It is bidirectional, and in case of xylem, no energy was required, but here energy is required. Now, how this energy is achieved in the case of plants? In a phloem cell, there are certain different kinds of cells, and among these kinds of cell, there is a cell that is known as a companion cell. This companion cell has mitochondria in it, and this mitochondria produces ATP. And this ATP that is being produced by the companion cell has a translocation of the food material from the leaves to the bottom part of the root. Now, what kind of food materials are being passed from the leaves to the roots? It is either glucose or sucrose. Glucose or sucrose is being passed from leaves to the roots of the plant, and it is achieved with the help of the fluid. Now, as we were speaking about, the translocation is bidirectional in nature and it is energy is required. Now, what do you mean by bidirectional? That is, from the roots, the food materials can pass to the leaves, and from the leaves also the food materials can pass to the roots. This phenomenon of passing the food materials or passing of anything or substances both the ways on both the directions are named as bidirectional. Now we will speak about the transpiration in the plants. As we have mentioned transpiration in the xylem, now we will speak about it in depth. This is the whole fluid mechanism. The xylem mechanism is associated with the transpiration of the water or transportation of the water, and in the phloem it is associated with the translocation of the sucrose. Okay, now we will speak about the transpiration in plants. Now we will speak about the transpiration in the plants, which we were talking about in the xylem part. Now this is an open stomata and this is a closed stomata. These two bean-shaped cells are known as the guard cells. And this tiny opening in between the guard cells is known as the stomata. The guard cells contain vacuoles, chloroplasts, and many other things which are not our main focus. Through this gap, the exchange of gases and air to take place, and water takes place. Now, what do you mean by transpiration? Transpiration is the process by which the leaves that are present in the water that is present in the leaves get transpired or gets evaporated into the outer environment or in the air. This process known as a transpiration. Now, why transpiration is so important? Transpiration, or why the plants in case of plants transpiration is here, because it's a kind of a loss, because I'm giving out my water, then it's kind of a loss for the plants, right? But no, by the help of the transpiration, the mineral that absorption increases, the rate of mineral absorption increases. As we were speaking about the xylem, there were three main steps: absorption, root pressure, and transpirational growth. For a tree, if there is a greater rate of transpiration, that is for an optimum level, up to an optimum level, if there is a transpiration rate to a good level, the rate of the mineral transportation will also increase. That is, if a leaf is transpiring the water molecules to the outer environment in up to a good level, whatever the mineral uptake in from the ground level, suppose it was very poor, but if the transpiration rate is up to a good level, then that will also get fixed. It's kind of a directly proportionality up to a certain limit. I'm again saying up to an optimum condition, this transpiration rate is quite good. If the transpiration rate is beyond the optimum level, then the plants will get dried up, and which may even lead to the death of a plant. Now we have understood the mechanism of xylem and phloem. But what is the main big difference within the xylem and phloem? We will study about it now. xylem and fluid. It's kind of a summary, okay? In case of water, xylem, water is being transported. In case of phloem, food is being transported. It is unidirectional, that is, it happens from the root to the leaves only. It is bidirectional. We have already discussed about it. In case of xylem, the xylem is associated with the water transportation in the plant. In case of the phloem, it is associated with the food transportation. Here, in case of xylem, no energy is required. In case of phloem, energy is required. The xylem cells are dead. That is, they are non-living. And in case of the phloem, it is living. As I've already mentioned, the companion cells contain the mitochondria, which produces the energy which is used for the xylem transportation. Oh, sorry, the phloem transportation. Now, this was all about the transportation in the plants. Let me see if there is any other topic left. So we have not covered about how the water gets transported from the xylem. Let me clear it up for you. In case of the water transportation in to the xylem column, the water forms a cohesion. That is, it's a series of water that gets transported from the roots to the other parts of the plant. What do you mean by the cohesion? Cohesion is a word from the chemistry, by the way. It's a phenomenon by which molecules stick together. When you are having a glass of water, do you see that every other molecule is separated or any other thing? No, because they are performing water cohesion. That is, they get stick together. But in the case of mercury, you will see the addition that in the case the molecules get separated. That is, the pull between the molecule and the molecule is not very strong. But in case of water, through the when it's flowing to the xylem, the molecular pull is in a larger quantity. This cohesion tension mechanism is really important for your board exams, and rest all of the topics have been covered. So that's it for today. Hope you have understood everything in very detail, as we have covered almost everything about transportation and up to a certain depth also, which are needed for the board exams. We will meet in the next video, and hopefully we will start our next chapter.